I will anchor on this program, and together with me in the studio here today to look at this very germane issue, I have a public commentator with us here, Kunle Alayi. It's nice having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, perhaps I need to also add that Kunle is a broadcaster.
Lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations, Christian University.
All right. And we also have in the house a barrister at law. Well, he's an active barrister and also activist. There are so many lawyers are activists, but he's one of those activists. Carry Nigerian is also in the house with us.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Nice having you gentlemen in the house with me. On the program today, we want to look at, we want to assess the shortcomings of the Nigerian Constitution. And well, it would be appropriate for me to start with the lawyer in the house before the social commentator begin their own commentaries. Now, as a practicing lawyer, if you look at the Nigerian Constitution, will you say it's ideal? I don't want to use the word perfect now. That might be too extreme. Is it ideal for Nigeria as a nation, Federal Republic? Is it an ideal document?
No, it is not. And I dare say, by virtually all standards, it is not. Whether looking at it from the angle of whether or not structure has been envisaged and worked around, no. Whether checks and balances or power devolution has been properly done or drafted, no. Whether it is a people-centered or a citizen-centered or citizen-based constitution, again, no.
No.
Of course, I have, don't just take my words for it, I have relevant sections of that same constitution that give effect or point out to this. An example, for instance, is there is something called the second schedule to the Constitution. There is something called the exclusive list. Generally, it is tagged legislative list.
Okay.
We have the exclusive list. We have concurrent. Yes, the other is residual. The exclusive list is, there are items that only the National Assembly can make laws on or legislate on. The federal government. Shockingly, we have 68 items on that. That's warped. That's thwarted. The proper thing, it should have been the other way around. There should have been more items on the concurrent list. That is, and concurrent, by the way, are items or issues where states, and in some cases, both states and federal, can both speak on, legislate on, or make laws on. But the reverse is the case in Nigeria. That ought not to be the case, all right? So that's talking about, well, some call it, that's what has affected fiscal federalism. For instance, another instance is some states are just lazy, respectfully, you know. I say that with respect. Recently, some mineral resources were discovered in some southern states. If states had been made to work, to be viable by themselves, that would have driven resourcefulness, all right, in the state governments and governors, speaking directly now, more specifically, because by then, their IGR will basically be state-based, not like we're waiting for bailout from the federal, for instance. It's unfair that Lagos, for instance, is working so much, but sends the money, virtually everything, to Abuja, and we get bailouts. The reverse ought to be the case, all right. Another thing is talking about whether it is people-centered. I've said it many times on OGTV here and some other media outfits, that Chapter 2 of our Constitution is a fraud. Why is it a fraud? Yeah, why is it a fraud? It's a fraud because it contains what is called directive principles of state policy. Those are things that the state ought to do for her citizens. Unfortunately, Section 6 now says if the state fails to do those things, there is nothing you can do about it.
So, that is serious matter. If there is nothing you can do.
You see why I call it fraud. So why did you do it in the first place? So I just cast my mind back at times to when I was in a law school. Not even before law school, at the university, we were made to know those things, the whole of chapter 2, to learn them by heart. And I'm asking, if it is like a toothless dog, it's like being afraid of a dead lion or a dead snake. All right, so these things, there is nothing Nigerians can do about them. Why are they there in the first place? Another one says on 308, immediately, and the list goes on.
We'll still look at some of these items in the statute books of Nigeria as the discussion progresses. Mr. Lai, now, we have heard from the viewpoint of, perhaps I should have even started this discussion from before I asked him, because from some of those highlights he has given, you begin to really wonder, do we really have the Constitution? If the Constitution itself contradicts itself in terms of certain areas of the provisions. But let's look at it from the perspective of the common Nigeria. This that we call Constitution, to what extent do you think this has been able to affect daily life, business life, and possibly our interpersonal relationship as individuals at this point? I fact about 2 or 3 things.
That's quite a very brilliant question, and to be honest with you, is the same thing, or a particular statement that you will find on the lips of so many Nigerians, that if truly we have Constitution, is this Constitution actually meant for common man on the street or the masses? Like I carved in one of my write-up, I said Nigerian Constitution should be changed or be described not as Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but as Constitution for the masses of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because most of it are not, what we have in the Constitution are expected to be guiding principles, things that individuals, citizens, whether you are a political elite, you're a common man, as long as you're a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are expected to adhere and oblige to these rules and regulations. But these days, you will see it that what we have in the Nigerian Constitution these days, the constitutions are there. Okay. We have them. Just like the barrister was saying the other time. We have all these rules there. But the question you now ask is, to what extent are we duly taking to cognizance? Yeah. A scholar, Jefferson, was talking about constitutionalism. We have constitution, we have constitutionalism. When you talk of constitution itself, the true practice of the constitution itself is what we call constitutionalism. And when we have a constitution, which is also a product of an ideal state, underline that word now, ideal state, a modern government, how as the constitution that ought to be the guiding principle of the modern state is being duly taken into cognizance? That is another thing. What we have in Nigeria, well, some people have also argued to a large extent that the backgrounds to Nigerian constitutions, that is, the evolution of Nigerian constitutions itself, could be part of the challenges or factors responsible for the improper practice of Nigerian constitution. Yeah, we had it from Clifford Constitution of 1922, whereby we the very first time in the history of Nigeria to have what is called constitution as itself, on and on like that, to that of the Arthur Richard, Macpherson. At the point of Macpherson Constitution, Nigerian government suffers two things: political and constitutional defects. That tells you what I'm trying to say. What I'm going down the memory lane is that these challenges we are having about Nigerian constitution at the moment have been there.
Okay.
And they were also carried, we call it like a carryover, they were carried into post-independence constitution. Now, the fact now remains that we as Nigerians, okay, they have given us all this constitution, these were British constitutions up to that of 1960, but by the 1st of October 1963, we were able to have our own first indigenous constitution.
Yeah.
Between that 1963 to date, have we been able to put this into proper channel? Judiciary is supposed to be the hope of a common man.
Yeah.
Constitution is supposed to serve as hope for a common man. But what we have in Nigeria today is subversion of Nigerian constitution, subversion of rule of law.
So perhaps it might not really necessarily mean the totality of the constitution that is bad, but those who are implementing.
To be honest, there is nothing wrong with Nigerian constitution, if you ask me. But to what extent? No, totally. He mentioned something. I'm not a lawyer anyway. I may not be too familiar with some of the paragraphs. But at least I still know that it is spelled in the Nigerian constitution that government should protect citizens' lives and property. Government should remain impartial, should defend citizens' fundamental human rights.
Yeah.
All these are supposed to be good things, are supposed to serve the interests of the people. So if we have all these in Nigerian constitution, we will not say the constitution is bad, but we are in a country whereby what we do here is we build personalities other than institutions.
Okay.
When you build personalities other than institutions, such a country will have a problem, regardless of whatever you have in the constitution. Because the institution that ought to serve as the peace to regulate and check excesses of the personalities,
Okay. And ensure the implementation.
and ensure the implementation of the constitution is weakened.
Deliberately.
Well, for whatever.
All right. Let me throw that one to. Let me throw that one to Carrie now. Now, the issue of let me start from the issue of institution that Ali has just talked about. From our constitution, to what extent are these institutions protected in terms of independence? Let's say, for instance, the one that will probably come to mind. We'll look at Nigerian police, we'll look at institutions like INEC. All these ones deal directly with the public. Even Nigerian Population Commission and all of this. To what extent has the Constitution of Nigeria provided for their true independence in such a manner that they can perform their responsibilities without fear of somebody at the top dealing with them and all of that?
Well, largely speaking, independence of institutions you have mentioned,
Yes.
has not so much been in doubt or issues. There are no issues about them.
Okay.
For example, have you heard in recent times or even in times past that some people complain that police is not independent? What you hear is poor funding. So independence is not, in fact, for me, they are overprotected.
No, but if you listen to some of the comments in recent times, particularly when this issue of insecurity is getting out of hand, you see some of the governors saying that they are not the ones that take final decision when it comes to police in their states. That when they take orders from maybe their hierarchy in Abuja and all of that, of course, the governor is left in the lurch.
And that's not a question of whether or not they're independent. When you're talking about independence, police, the examples you cited, they are still with the executive.
Okay.
When talking about independence, we have to talk, we must relate it to separation of powers, all right?
Okay.
And power division generally, which is particularly the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. One ought not to be dependent, so to speak, on the other. But police is clearly army, virtually all security. As a matter of fact, security is even in the exclusive list of the second schedule to the Constitution. So that's clearly so. So if it's about their independence, I don't think that's an issue. Like I've asked, have they complained? No, really. Governors should not complain. Why? Because it is in the exclusive list. If they must complain, the constitution has to be amended. That's the issue we first have with Amoteco, when the AGF said is unconstitutional. And I referred to an item in the exclusive list saying that security shall be in the exclusive list. That is only National Assembly can legislate on it. Yeah. So when the state wanted to started controlling security apparatus, there was a problem. All right. So that's the issue. Judiciary can complain, legislature can complain, but if it is an agency or any MDA under executive, they are one. Two, straight to what Mr. Kunle said, that constitution is not a problem. I was listening keenly because I had opined that it's a problem. I was listening keenly to what he was going to say to back that up. And one of the things he said is that, I'm not quoting verbatim now, he said the constitution provides for that the government should provide security and the roads and the likes. I am now saying that the same truth is there, chapter 2. The same law now says if government fails to do those things, you can't do anything about it. Let me read it. May I, sir?
Go ahead. That's the essence of this discussion.
Nigerians, let us go for let's listen for ourselves. Section 6, this is the constitution, by the way. You can see 1999, Constitution of Nigeria. All right. Let's see what it says. Section 6, subsection 6, paragraph C. It says the judicial powers, that's the court's powers, vested in accordance with the foregoing provisions of this section, C now says, shall not, except as otherwise provided by this Constitution, extend to any issue or question as to whether any act or omission by any authority or person, or as to whether any law, listen to those words, so any, no qualification, no exception, or any judicial decision is in conformity with the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy as set out in chapter 2 of this Constitution. Summarily, this place is saying that chapter 2, by the way, get Constitution, it's important for us to get it from section 13, all right, through to where you get to 24. Chapter 3 talks about citizenship, all right. Chapter 2 talks about directive principles of state policy. So it's not those directive principles that you have those things that Mr. Kunle said, like it shall be the duty of the government to provide facilities to encourage mobility of goods, of people. That's good road. Life shall be secured. All those things are there in the Constitution. But chapter 6, section 6 now says
for
not doing it. So can we now say it is okay? Clearly not. Why do you even call something, to start with, it's not even a why call it a duty when it can't be enforced, when someone fails to do it? All right. So that's why it is difficult. Look at the killings in Ogun West, for instance, where it is alleged that some people are killing people. Not even alleged, we've seen pictures of dead people. Ordinarily, if not for section 6 in this law, we would have sued the governor or sued the president. The president is the right person to sue because he's in charge of the security forces. But if you sue him, all the AGF needs to do is to file what we call a PO, preliminary objection, all right, relying on section 6 of this law, saying that you can't enforce that right. So imagine if I am a governor or a president, I can do as I like if I want to be silly, because I know that if I fail to provide roads, amenity, water, light, security, you can't do anything. If you do it, this law protects me. That's what we're talking about, really. So it's defective.
Well, that's from the point of law.
You can now see.
Point of law.
The two of us were not actually too far away. I was talking about institution and personality. I said it earlier that in Nigeria we preserve our personalities more or stronger than the institution.
Okay.
This time around, from what he said now, the personalities I'm actually referring to, I'm talking about political elites.
Okay.
Vis-a-vis people in the corridor of power. There's the presidents, the governors, and when you have a constitution and the same constitution negates, should we call that a caveat? That's not as far as, should we call it a caveat? If it's a caveat, then it's quite deceptive.
Very well.
You understand what I'm saying now? So that, to a large extent, also tell you that those people that ought to implement the constitutions, whom I refer to as personalities, are prepared Nigerian constitutions to necessary.
Okay, now there is aspect of this same constitution that we want us to look at. Maybe after, okay, I don't know, okay, maybe in another couple of minutes we'll go on break. We still have little time to say something about it. Now, the constitutions we are using in Nigeria, both 1999, 1979,
1963.
all these constitutions were products from the military environment. And some people are now saying that, because when you, particularly 1979 and 1999, they were put together under
exactly,
okay?
exactly.
Some people were saying that perhaps the influence of the military by their professional norms, where it is do as I say, you don't question.
In a way.
Also to some extent influence the outcome of those constitutions.
It's no doubt.
Okay, so why are we now finding it difficult, since we have returned to democracy? In 79 we returned to democracy for about from
1st of October to 31st of December 1983.
Okay. And now we have run 20 years straight.
Oh, you mean 1999?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's
1999 constitution. Even the one in 79, the one they used for the Second Republic. For 4 years, nothing was done on the constitution. Now we have another one, 1999, that we are still running up for 20 years. And we have these obvious anomalies. Why are we finding it difficult under democracy to do necessary adjustments?
Still boils to the same thing I'm saying. You cannot rule out military as part of the political elites. Okay. Military, obviously, of course, we have a lot of retired generals. What do we have in Nigerian government today? We have assemblage of retired generals. And I will not want to say they drafted the constitution then, because I wouldn't want to believe it was Obasanjo that continued the transition program of late Ramat Mohamed after he was murdered on the 13th of February 1976. He continued. But part of what he did, like you mentioned, was the CDC, Concerned Drafting Committee, as part of the journey, the transition programs towards the Second Republic. But should we now say that Obasanjo then knew that he was still going to come back as president in 1999? Or should we say that Buhari, as at 27th of August 1985, 31st of December 1983, when himself and Tunde Idiagbon overthrew the government of Alhaji Shehu Shagari, knew that having served as a military man, he would still come back in 2015 as a civil president? You see, the point is that the Nigerian constitution is false at design, right from the word go. You understand? But I don't want to dwell so much on that, because when you have an issue or when you find yourself in a situation, the ideal or reasonable thing, logical thing, is for you to be able to come out of it and provide solution to it. But when you refuse to bring yourself out of that challenge, then you have compromised that, or you have chosen to be static. If constitution, in fact, to be honest with you, I was just going to hear that particular section that Barrister just read today. That's caveat. I call that, Barrister, I call that place caveat section.
You are giving that impression
well, it's a caveat. It's a caveat. But of course, I'm not a lawyer. I will only be conscious of what actually concerns me. And the area that concerns me in that paragraph is that my life and properties should be protected by the government. So if that same constitution now have a backup, that come on, it's just for that. Okay. If I cannot do it, you cannot still hold me responsible. Then, so like he said, what is the point?
What's the point? Okay, all right, okay. That's actually one of those things that we are looking at on the program, because it's still part of the shortcomings of
Absolutely.
the Nigerian constitution. But we still look at some other parts of this constitution and possibly prefer suggestions from this discussion here on the program. Whether it's going to come up as being implemented or implementable is another thing entirely. But definitely, in the second half of this program, we are going to prefer some solution to these obvious constitutional shortcomings that the barrister has actually identified. So we take this short break and we'll be back. And then you'll also be able to be part of the program by calling in to chip in your own contribution or ask questions. So don't go away.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back. It's still Focus Live on OGTV, and we're looking at an assessment of the shortcomings in the Nigerian Constitution. My guests are still in the house. Kunle Alaye is here in the house, and Kayode Adiremi is also in the house. And in this second part of the program, you can be part of it. The number will soon come on your screen. You can chip in your own suggestion, or you ask a question from my guests in the house. Yes, before we went on that short break, the issue was that what kind of a constitution will say that I will provide this, but if I don't provide this, you can't do anything about it. Now, if we look at this as a character of the Constitution, will there not be a need for total overhaul of this? Because that chapter alone, that chapter 2 you have referred to, is enough to say that Nigeria doesn't really have a constitution, workable constitution, I would say.
Yes, definitely. It's a fraud. Clearly speaking, it's a fraud.
You kept on saying it's a fraud, it's a fraud. That it is not appropriate. Does that make it a fraud?
Let me tell you why. Well, I told you why I said it's a fraud. Okay, let's do this. You and I can do business, all right? If you default as my partner in business, I can sue you.
All right.
But if I default, you can't sue me. Will you sign that contract?
Well,
I can answer for you. And I don't go only know. Those that are listening to us can answer. That's where the fraud comes in. So if I don't pay my tax, you can arrest me. But if you don't use my tax to do what you should do, I can't sue you. That's the fraud. It's clear. It's clear. So there is the need for what I call a complete rejig. A complete rejig of it. You see, we oftentimes, well, like most humans would do anyway, we often gravitate towards things that tickles our fancy. All right? I still said today, I granted a media interview today, and I keep asking, and Ogun State will hear this, and did to all states in Nigeria. A state has no business sponsoring anybody for so-called pilgrimage.
Okay.
It's unfair. Section 10 is clear. You see, we only pick the powers that are okay for us, especially for those, like Mr. Kunyalaye said, for those in political power, political sphere. I'm a politician too anyway. But that's really unfair. Take, for instance, if I am a Amadioha priest, that is God of thunder, we call it Shango in Yoruba land.
Yeah.
If I worship Shango, or I pay obeisance to Shango, and I pay my tithe, did I say tithe? Tax.
Tax. this one is a church.
And I pay my tax. Will it be fair take for instance Ogun State, to use the people's tax, including mine, since there's no separation,
okay,
to sponsor a Christian to Jerusalem or a Muslim to Mecca? What if a Shango worshipper wants to go to India to go and do Hinduism? Will they sponsor me? No. There is only provision for the two religions. So there we see a lot of flops. There is a simple solution. You want to go to Mecca? Beautiful. Bye-bye. You want to go to Jerusalem? Bye-bye. So a lot of overlaps are there. But the state has no business spending the people's money. If the government uses his personal funds to send you out to anywhere in the moon, it's fine. Now, that's the one. Two, we have about 30 items. Talking about what we can call a people's constitution now. Okay. We have about 30 items on the concurrent list. Again, I said earlier, concurrent lists are things, are items that both the state and federal can make laws on or can work with. But exclusive Act 68, it ought to be the reverse. All right. So things as simple as judgment enforcement. Do you know what lawyers go through? I don't know whether you are landlords, but I know of a woman, sirs, that her rent per annum, year, she was the landlord at the time. So her tenant paid 48,000 naira per year as rent. Now, the tenant became unscrupulous and all that. She wasn't paying, and she wanted to evict the tenant. One, she had to pay a lawyer. Two, she had to pay the court bailiff and all that. Three, she had to pay for filing. And after all those things, after she got judgment, this is what we do in Ogun State, for example. The judgment will still have to be sent to the Ogun State Police Command Headquarters, Elewero, for them to do whatever they are doing with it. So wherever you are in Ogun State, even if it's in Ipokia, you first have to come to Abeokuta. And I met them, she was crying in Elewero. I said, Mama, what happened? She said, lawyer, she didn't know I was a lawyer. I said, my house rent is 48,000. And I've gone through all this stress just to evict the tenant. And you know why? Because in that same exclusive list, judgment enforcement is there. I mean, you should get a judgment. Believe should walk up to the closest police station and get it effected. But what lawyers go through at times, even with the police, I am on national television. What they ask us to pay at times can be as much as 100,000 naira. And what is their job? The law says that is the Sheriff and Civil Process Act, Section 4 or thereabouts. It says the police shall provide protection for the bailiff while executing judgment. So the bailiff will go there with the writ and say, I want to execute judgment. All the police will do is just to hold gun and stand by, just in case. And at times they charge as much as 200 to 500,000 naira for that. So
even if the worth of what you want to...
I told you that woman's case is 40,000 naira per year. She was crying when she was told the amount to bring. So you can imagine that. But all those things could have been avoided if, for instance, that thing had been taken off that list. The CJ could have given a directive that, okay, henceforth, after you get judgment, work with the bailiff, walk straight to, and get it effected. That would have been very, very seamless. So, as harmless as that sounds, look at it, the wreck it has caused. Of course, there are plethora of others too. Same thing for chapter 2. As we have said many times, myself and Mr. Kunyalaye, There is no reason why I shouldn't. A colleague called me, he was somewhere outside the country, and as he was driving, his car picked a tiny nail on the road, and the tire got deflated. This guy sued his local government. He sued them. I'm paying tax. Your taxes should power to clear the roads. And I smiled. Of course, he was in Nigeria before he left. And I said that even if, in fact, there was a time in Abeokuta here that
either change probably to confederalism. Right. We cannot be operating federalism and be talking of restructuring. Because restructuring basically is talking about devolution of power. Mm-hmm. It means it means that each region will have certain autonomy. It means there will be political, economics, security. There will be several autonomy, SADU, of vested in that particular region. Like the case we had in the First Republic. In the First Republic, we had the 3 regions. Yes. Then we cannot be talking about the restructuring. Is a good thing, because it will give each region the opportunity to be able to take certain decisions on their own, and it will also enhance, it will bring about the growth of the nation.
You've been mentioning region.
Yeah.
But the present constitution we use only recognizes states.
That is what I'm telling you. We cannot be talking of restructuring and still continue with federalism. It's not going to work, because federalism by definition is talking about decentralizations of power among the component units of government. The states, the local, even that one is also a fraud. Because if you say the division of power or decentralization of power among the governmental units, including the local government, why is local government still today still serve as appendage of the state government, especially in the area of fiscal policy? Ideal constitution in Nigeria today, we need to or review totally. All these caveat sections should be scrapped, because they are just there to deceive Nigerians, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. All right. Gary, now, one thing I also know a little bit about in this issue of 1999 and 1979 Constitution is that Nigerian lawyers prefer that 1979 Constitution to this 1999. Well, since I am not a practitioner, I might not be able to know the reasons behind, but maybe possibly from knowledge of hindsight as a practitioner, have you also noticed a significant difference between 1979 Constitution and 1999 Constitution?
Yes, well, I did the comparison as far back as 2002. Falana, Michael Zekome and the likes. You know, the idea is to have, you know, a people-centered thing we can call our own. All right. And
okay, let me see whether. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello, good afternoon. Okay. Still not connecting.
All right.
We can't sue them.
There's a caveat. Right, I've answered the question I asked you earlier. You know, democracy is simply people-centered. People is the fulcrum of what it is. It has been generally defined as a government of the people, by the people. For instance, you drive one way, you lose your car. That's crazy. I mean, I've told my friends over there in Lagos, what are you guys still doing there? It doesn't make sense, really.
Why should why should you drive?
I will give you an example.
Against the traffic.
Yeah, there was a day, people that left Abeokuta away. There was a time I was driving around Aguda area. There was a major change in that area, in the road structure, I mean. I had no idea. Yeah. I didn't know that. I was born and raised in Lagos, and I missed my route.
And I didn't see road signs?
Nothing. Nothing. And it's like even Abeokuta here, there are some zebra crossing. Once you parade, there are no more there. And you arrest people for not stopping. I mean, it's waiting for you to make the mistake. An officer came into my car and I told him I would drive you to my in-laws' house. We will still go together. Because I didn't see any sign. I mean, I grew up in this area. But it's like Abeokuta. If you are not careful and you came in, you should not have been here 7 years ago and you came. You can miss some things. because some things have changed.
Yes.
There have been facelift. So what if that happens? But there's no room for that at all. By the way,
is there excuse for ignorance?
look,
No. Is you
That's part of the caveat.
that you always say that?
I think section 22 or so of the Criminal Code Law of Ogun State says it's not an excuse. But there are exceptions, yes, where ignorance will be an excuse. An exception is copyright. If, for example, I knew that you wrote this book,
Yeah.
and I extracted part of it and wrote mine, and I knew that the book is yours, that is, I did it with intention. But
It can be exactly the same.
punishment will be different, experiment. The other one, you can be asked to pay you royalty. So there are exceptions. But this is the point. Do you think, look, Tabanika Toba, look, let me even try.
Okay.
It's a long thing. I'll try and abridge it.
Yep.
Before a law is made, people should be consulted.
Okay.
That's why you have stakeholders forum. See, I want to remember.
We are finding a solution to it now.
Yeah, most times in Lagos, I doubt if that is done. Which people will tell their lawmaker to go and, sign that once you arrest my car, auction it? I don't think any Nigerian would do that. So most times laws are made.
The government has warned against some of these. Even they released penalties for.
Warning is not the issue. I think different things now.
Okay.
Yes. What I'm saying is, when was the last time, sir, with due respect, that you attended town hall meeting with the lawmaker covering your local government? How about you, sir? We don't even know about this. It's only when the election is near, we see them. There ought to be constant meeting with the people. So take your people's wishes to the plenary, House of Assembly. That is what becomes a law. But when you don't meet them to hear their grievances, that's why ballots are there. The governor Dr. Abiodun cannot know Egba like Alake of Egba. Yes. Alake cannot know Obantoko like the Baale of Obantoko. The idea is meet with them, carry their grievances to the state, make it a law. But oftentimes the reverse is the case. No, why did Governor the former governor of Lagos State, Ambode, why did he reverse the land use charges, the 400% that he did? Was that not a law? But the same people he made the law for revolted. And of course, lawyers in NBA Keja took him to court. He reversed that law. Why is that? So that is to show that many things are done without people in mind. Now let me situate it in this discussion. Okay. A people-centered constitution is this. Think of the masses. Of course, people in Nigeria that are poor are more than those that are rich. Think of the poor. What will make life better for them? If so and so and so happen, what can be done? All right. So when those things are factored together, made as law, then we can say it's the constitution. Let me close with this point. Okay. Section.
Section. We are concretizing the discussion.
Yes.
It will be by discussion in big.
Yes.
Okay.
By 1999, I was alive, by the way. All right. And I was not a baby at all. And I'm sure two of you were alive. And it says, look, the first line of Constitution says, we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved. When did we resolve? When? Where? How? I mean, these are the issues. So you want to do a law that will bind about 200 million people. And some people dictate that as we. How? I mean, so this
obviously we have some set of people who determine the fate of over 200 million.
Clearly. So that's why some are calling for referendum and the likes. So here people
it's no longer strange that we have few Nigerians who determine the fate of over 200 million.
Because they put it together. Okay.
So that's
it's part of our coasting home now. With the situation as it is. How best do you think we can? This effort, yes, Barrister made reference to this effort by some Nigerians who are trying to put what will be described as people's constitution. In the first instance, I don't know whether you have.
But shouldn't have been the process in the first place, because part of what he was trying to emphasize was sources of the constitution, custom and tradition. There is convention. These are sources. Like what he read now, were you consulted?
Down.
No! Were you? Nobody was consulted.
And the constitution. We get a constitution for the Nigerian masses that we can now
the best thing, good. The best thing Nigerian government can do now is to probably organize symposia at different state levels.
Okay.
Let each state come up with their own contribution. Let them put it together. Let Zamfara bring his own. Let Kogi bring his own. Let Ogun bring. Let them now bring everything together. Review. But if they're going to come to, they shouldn't unpick. They should go to that woman selling Iru at Lafenwa. Go to that carpenter at Obantuku. Common people. Let them have contributions. Let them have their own input, the elite. Not just people that will give things that are suitable.
All right.
You
now,
know, to their own
just
interest.
very, very briefly, so that we don't run foul of their time. Now, some people are trying to put what can be called people's constitution together. But the present constitution now still gives the power to the assembly to make amendments.
Section 9.
Cities to get this.
Yes, I knew we were going to get to that actually.
Unfortunately, the time will not
Yes.
allow you so much extension.
Section 9, I will not read it for time's sake. Section 9 is clear. Only the National Assembly can effect what we call constitutional amendment. And even that one, and for National Assembly, at least 2/3.
So we need the National Assembly to do that. And this same National Assembly are foot dragging. All right, God will help Nigeria. Let me begin to thank you because our time is up. Kunle Alai, I want to thank you so much for coming on the program. And Barrister Kyle I thank you. I know the activism is already coming up gradually. All right, I want to thank you for your contributions and all of that. And to you out there who have been part of this program, I also want to thank you for keeping our company every week. Next week is another time together on Focus Live with another topic and possibly with some other guests in the house. But until then, I leave you in the hands of Almighty God. Bye-bye.